South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
டார்லிங் ஏசி திருவிழா இந்தியாவிலேயே மிக குறைந்த மாத தவணையில் ஏசி. Velamal feels proud to honor the physical education teachers with 5 cars and 15 lakhs.
We're at Kiss Cafe, that's KIS, keep it simple, it's in Kasturba Nagar. Hi Pushkar, hi Gayatri, welcome to Galatta Plus.
Hi.
Long time. So, why is your company called Wall Watcher Films?
Okay.
Really?
Really, that's how it started. We spend a lot of time staring at, earlier it was a blank wall, now it's a wall with a little more texture in it. But most of the time, when we are writing, we're just staring at something which is
like trying to
a wall.
think,
So
That's what Wall Watcher is.
Actually,
Is
yes.
that why it took 10 years between quarter cutting and Vikram Veda? 7 years.
7 years. Actually, our writing process in that way is very slow. So most of the time it is writing, scratching off, and then trying to find that you won't know what is missing, but you know something is missing. Adu solve ஆறது வரைக்கும் it's
So
long
that is
periods of.
the truth of wall watcher. So we are like very good wall watchers. We can just sit and stare at wall and do nothing. But the other thing is, wall, you project films and
Okay.
screen. So that's the
So
more
our,
respectable version.
The company's title animation had the respectable version. It had about like a wall and a image being projected on it kinds. Actually, somebody asked if it was inspired from Game of Thrones. The wall, the watchers on the wall. Is that Wall Watcher?
That's a little.
Actually, we should have just used that as an explanation.
That
That's
would be
like
a very cool
Yeah,
way to kind of say, okay, we're very with it. And all that. So we
And
watch
Game of
all the
Thrones
later
itself is
shows.
like-
But speaking of shows, you're probably the first filmmakers in the history of cinema whose last 2 films were both named Vikram Veda. Like, I don't think there's ever been like I don't know, maybe people who made it. No, I think there have been people who remade their films. But I'm just saying, but it's very. Don't you guys feel that itch to go and make a film like a?
That is there. Actually, now.
Actually, writing has been going on for a film. So now.
So we are close to locking on the script
Okay.
after so many years for a feature film thing. So it takes time, and for us, I think it's time well spent on just
And we
doing
were
that.
pretty happy. Actually more than happy. We're like super excited about Suzhal 1 and how it was received. Not just here, across. In Hindi and Telugu and all. And we are actually happy in that producer space also. So Vadanti has come out. One more show is getting ready, and like Suzhal also is produced by our company. So we are enjoying our time, and I think feature we want to do something, so that writing has taken a bit longer than we expected, but now we are in a good shape.
So with features, are we at, like in Tamil cinema at least, are we in a place where it's only mostly possible if you get like a big hero in place?
So yes and no. So if you see over last year, there have been a couple of films which have worked from a much smaller space, like Parking. Good Night and all that, and the beginning of this year also there was a film called Kudumbasthan with Manigandan, which has done well. I think it's a play on what is it going to cost you to make a film without a big hero. The cost of production has gone up so much that even if you don't pay too much for your lead actors, your cost is still at a range where unless the film does extremely well, the producer is going to lose out. So it's either a hit or complete loss. So that in between gray area which we had all through the 2010s, starting with what Karthik did and Nalan did. At that time, the mid to upper mid budget films were working really well. But I think towards the end of the decade, and especially post-pandemic, it has been like an all-in poker game kind of scenario. So, see, for us, I think the expectation is to work with a name hero, with a
I think
star.
it's basically,
Why?
like, what is the budget you require to make the story? So if
but-
it is,
No, but I'm saying, to extend on his point, why should a big brand like Pushkar Gayatri always necessarily work with a big hero? Why can't you
Actually,
make
not in that way. It's
Okay.
more towards the story which we are looking at saying is going to cost certain amount to make it. Now, if
to
you don't get a
justify
big
that
name,
cost, you need to have a certain level of actor.
Okay.
Otherwise it's not a mountable venture. I mean, I
So
think that's
just to throw some random numbers around, say a project is going to cost you 25 crores to make. Now, if you get a hero who charges you 2 crores, it will seem like, oh, 27 crores, the project is over. But if you get a hero who charges 2 crores, your market for that is only around 7 crores, 8 crores.
Okay.
So you can't make a 25 crore project with a 2 crore hero. You will have to make a 25 crore project with a 25 crore hero who will then eventually have a 50 crore market. So it is like as it becomes bigger, your hero cost also becomes much, much bigger, but both of them put together hopefully would be
yeah. So
the
if
value.
it is, I mean, if it's like an intimate story, a small story, then so it's not about the like you have to associate with the hero, but I think the story you're trying to say needs to fit in with the market of whoever you're.
And that's why we like the long form OTT space also. So like Suzhal 1 and Suzhal 2 also, no? These are stories I don't think which, like even if you try to tell it in a short form, one is the narrative structure and all that. But even as just instead of a story, if you consider it as a project, it's not a project which we could have floated theatrically. It wouldn't have made sense because of the festival and we needed like 1,000, 2,000 people for like 5, 10 days. So intrinsically, it's an expensive
Yeah,
project.
the show has a grand, I mean, it
a
has.
scale.
Yeah, it is a scale thing. In this space, we could actually manage those two. I mean, with our name and like how the project is falling together, we could tell our story in a grand way with like actors who really suit the role. I mean, actors who are like really talented and suit the role. No? So that is
And when
possible.
Prime Video approached us also, no, I think that agenda was clear that we will make cinematic television in the sense that it should have the sense of larger than life grandeur which we associate with cinema, no, with the big screen. That we need to bring to the television also. So prestige TV is all about that, right? Like, so you in television you have a wide range. You have these small family dramas, intimate stories which just happen in one room, and the focus is on the narrative between that. Right up to something like what we were talking about earlier, like Game of Thrones, which is like a massive scale thing. But again, a Game of Thrones is not something which should have worked in theaters because the storytelling has too many threads in it, and each thread needs a certain space for it to pan out. I think the last successful, I'm saying in terms of storytelling, would have been the Lord of the Rings movie series. So they had managed to take that much content and make a movie out of it. But Songs of Ice and Fire, I don't think could have ever become a movie, even if it's a 3-part movie or a 4-part movie. So in that way, if we are able to tell these kind of stories with the kind of scale which it intrinsically requires. Now, the scale is not something which you put on top of it.
Yeah,
You're not having random action sequences and large crowds just for the sake of it. It contributes to the storytelling. OTT gives us that bit of freedom. But again, it's not like if you're doing one, you can't do the other. I think
No,
that's
not
the-
that, but when you say Suzhal, right, it's like, what did it give you in terms of, what was your takeaway from making that series?
See, one thing is we've been wanting to dabble in this space for a long time. I mean, we watch a lot of series. We
Right.
enjoy
Just
the.
hold on to the thought. The reason I'm asking is also because in Hindi space, a lot of big name filmmakers have entered. For a long time, they've been making this
Right,
along
right.
with films, right? In the Tamil space, you don't find that many. You are one of the early adopters. So that way I was
Right,
yeah,
right.
So, see, I think having a first mover advantage on this space now has given us a bit of credibility with the platforms. With Prime Video, our relationship is very strong. And our books are clean and they trust us with the content which we are doing. Because I think ultimately, no, all networks also want to kind of depend on the vision of the creator. It's a large setup, right? I mean, you have hundreds of shows which are being produced by platforms. Now, a platform can't creatively monitor every one of those shows. So you kind of lean on who's the voice behind the show, who's the creator behind the show. So if you see a lot of what's happening in Hindi would be director-led production houses which are doing most of the work. So why is that? Because they are now trusting the creative instincts of that person to deliver a certain quality in storytelling and all that.
And another thing is, I mean, to answer, so thing is, I mean, actually, we've been asked this question between like friends and like close. So you guys can actually mount a film with whoever stars you have access to pitch, not just here in Hindi or Telugu. You can. So why are you guys getting
Going around
stuck
in
in
this
this,
circle.
going around in this circle?
In the circle of series.
Yeah. So it is, I think, simply because we can. I mean, as in, we choose to. As in, so we don't see it as like whatever poorer cousin or anything. So we can. I mean, so thing is, and like we don't have that pressure of. Okay, this person has done that film with this star. Why are we not doing that? Why are we doing this? I think simply because we can. So we're.
I think that's a good way now that you're saying it. I mean, we all know that cinema, it's a ladder which everybody is like scrambling to climb up the same ladder. The ladder being you work with this actor, then you work with that actor, then you work with a star, then you work with a bigger star. Your budgets are going up. So that's the ladder which every director is trying to climb. By getting into the OTT space, now we have a completely different ladder, and we have actually climbed up quite a bit on that ladder. So it's about, do you want to keep going back into the same competitive race on one side, or do you want to be telling the story and whatever makes sense to tell that story? I think at the end of it, if we have a feature film idea, which we want to mount it in a certain way, then you need to start speaking to what are the variables which will make that project happen. Now in India, we all know that you have to get a star to do it. And in the OTT space, you can kind of mount something with a certain scale and not have to depend on getting this name. If this name doesn't happen, this project won't happen, no? And the prachna illa. So that I think gives us, for certain stories, a certain leeway. But that, I mean, all said and done, there is a popular misconception that it's easy to mount in web series. There have been people struggling to even get a script into the doors of one of the networks. It's because they get 20, 30 pitches from any language at any given point of time. So every day the creatives are reading like 4, 5 pitches to determine what we should do next. So to have the foot into that door for us was a very conscious decision, knowing that like somewhere down the line what happened internationally, you know, I mean like from 2010, 2011 when the OTT platform started booming in US, you've seen what's happening to theatrical and what are the kind of stories which are American theatrical has become very restricted.
Like
There's only
somewhere,
this.
no, I mean, whether we like it or not, somewhere the spectacles are going to take over theaters. I mean, it's just like one natural course of evolution. I mean,
You know, whenever I say this, people always point to some 1, 2 movies, small movies that succeed and say, no, but these two movies
those
succeed.
are
But
just
I'm
the
like,
exception.
but those are the exceptions. You know, look at what people are going to in
Yeah, I mean,
large
other-
numbers.
down the line, no, it is bound to happen. So there's no way, like, I mean, you can support, you can love it and all, but you know, there are certain things which are going to happen. So
I mean, you take Broadway theater also, no? Like after cinema came in and then television came in, what do you see in Broadway in New York? You will see the big spectacle. They'll do the 100th version of Cats. They will do the 100th version of Othello, rather than taking an intimate script and doing it on Broadway. You will have to do it.
Nobody wants to take risks.
Yeah. You'll have to do it off Broadway for you to do a play like that.
But given that, now, okay, considering that, you know, Michael Fassbender and David Fincher did an OTT film, The Killer, Scorsese did Killers of the Flower Moon. I think Irishman was also an OTT thing. Then there was, you know, so I'm talking about the films. Not Mindhunters as a show, right? So I'm saying, is it possible, hypothetically, that you go to Prime Video and say that I have this idea for a feature film, whatever you're working on, can we pitch it as an OTT movie?
Yeah, actually,
We
they
can
have a
definitely,
release
I
coming
mean,
out on 28th,
we
which
can- I think Zoya has
has
directed.
produced.
Zoya
It's
has
called
directed and-
The Superboys of Malegaon.
Malegaon.
But
Yeah,
that's
that's
getting a
an-
theatrical.
Yeah, so that's an Amazon production. So Amazon and Tiger Baby and Excel have produced the film together, and they're releasing it theatrically first, and then it'll come on the platform. So that model is actually open, where Amazon, I think, has tied up with MGM Studios, and they're looking at doing theatrical features, which will have a theatrical run and then come to
But
the.
what you're talking about a straight OTT film.
Yeah, actually,
See,
Netflix
that is definitely an option. I mean, that these guys
It'll
ask.
save you the headache of star chasing and all that kind of thing.
But the
right?
one we have written now and what we are looking at, it requires a theatrical experience. I mean, it has that that spectacle thing is there, so that requires a theatrical experience.
So look at it this way, as soon as it comes into a film, from the OTT's point of view, there's just so much out there. Films which have been produced, which are trying to find an OTT buyer. Now, if a network is going to commit to produce an original film, it will have to be something which is not available in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, like you have 300 films waiting for a buyer. What are you going to take to them which is different from the 300 films and which is going to cost them a lot more? Because if they're just buying the OTT rights, it's 40% of what they will spend on making a film, right?
And film has like, I mean, see, series, the only home it finds is a platform. It's an OTT platform. Film has another thing. So that I think, I mean, yeah, like what you were saying, no, like if you're looking at a small film or mid film or a big film, they have enough options which they can pick from. So
actually, all these guys have put a lot of projects into production. I mean, in development and production of feature films, which is going to be web originals kind of thing. They're exploring that.
Right. No, but it's great that you guys are, you know, taking your time with a film script and you're saying, okay, in that time I'll do this parallel thing so that my mind is not always, oh my God, the scene is not working, the scene is not working. You have something else to focus on.
Imagine that. So in the past 3 years, we have written 2 full series scripts. Soul 2 was the first. Then we have written another series script, which is going to get into production sometime this year. And we have done a feature script. So this for us is like, what is this space we are working on? Like, we don't.
We are not wall watchers anymore. You have to change the name of your company.
We have to come back to paper and write.
That we'll get existential case. Have we actually become productive? What's happening? I mean, that's not.
No, but when you're you know, when Suzhal 1 released, there was how did the I want to know the spark behind that, because see there was this interesting layer of how we worship women as either as goddesses or whatever, but at the same time, you know, women are the ones that are you know, that's one of the broad thematic arcs there. Even though that's not the plot exactly, but okay, what was the spark that said, okay, this is an idea I want to work on for Suzhal?
The one which you said, no, was the one which gave us clarity on what Suzhal is. Where it started from was we had the plot of what is the crime and how that unfolds for a very long time. But we didn't move it forward because for us that, after watching The Wall for a long time, we didn't find that zing. Then when
so you tried to develop it as a feature?
No, as a long form. We were waiting for one of the networks to come in. We were developing it as a long form because it was a story of a crime which happens in a small town and how it tears the fabric apart. Right. So you had many characters who turn out to be suspects and then maybe go away. So this was structured as one of those Nordic thrillers which you would have seen, or any of the grand crime dramas, the brooding crime dramas which you see on the networks and on prestige television. No? So that was kind of where we were going. But somewhere we actually didn't start moving it forward because something was missing. And that something turned out to be when we had gone to Vellore once, we saw this Mayanakollai festival happening at that point of time, and our driver explained about it. Then suddenly things started clicking. So this idea of the worship of the goddess versus how women are actually treated in those all over India, I guess. Yeah. So that kind of said like, hey, this is the metaphorical layer which we are missing. Because if the broader perspective, what is the philosophy, what is the thematic idea of the story doesn't fall into place, no? Then it's just a police procedural. Then it is like, oh yeah, okay, you can make the cop this way, you can make it interesting in that way.
Can be a little smarter that way. And actually, I mean, when you were talking, I was like actually a little awestruck because the second season we've gone more into it. And what you said is almost ditto there in the series.
The dialogue itself is there.
So that's where did it lead?
So that's where the
festival layer came in
festival
later.
layer and this female centric thing. I mean, like what you're saying, no? So it is like glorified and goddess, but within that construct, you know, so that exact thing is there, and this season actually has, I mean, apart from Sakura and Nandini, I mean, Kadir and Aishwarya Rajesh, we have 8 women in the series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that, I mean, I think their characters are like pretty, they all have agency. It's not like, you know, a lot of women-centric films will get into this relationship thing and like, you know, looking for validation or like finding your calling and all that. So this is like, I mean, they have agency, and for want of a better word, they're like super macho. Like, so actually, we're pretty excited about that. So that feminine thing you're talking about from first season, this one, like, we've gone
Deeper into that.
much deeper.
So when you know, like, your Suzhal was your first series, right?
Yeah.
So you're like developing it. You don't know if it's going to get a season 2 because that depends on how well it's received, how it's going to perform, and all that, right? So at the point that you're developing a show, do you say, in case season 2 happens, let's leave a few plot points a little open, or let's not
Wind everything
finish
up.
everything?
Actually,
or-
we came in with the, I mean, we were pretty confident that it'll go for a second season. So we had that thing in mind. So the thing is, see, we wanted to finish
How
the
did you have the
story.
confidence? Like, was it a the deal was like that, or
No, when you take it to a platform, see, one of the things which they will look at is this a mini series? Mini series meaning it's an end game.
like
There
a
is just
self-contained
one show.
one,
That's
like
about
8
it.
episodes, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
The complete story gets over with it. They would rather invest in something which has legs, which can possibly go into a season 2, season 3 kind of thing. So one of the things which we spoke with Prime Video was the story of season 1 needs to get over there. But we will continue Sakura and Nandini's story across seasons. So each season will have a particular crime which needs to be solved and whatever happens over there based on a festival. But the larger arc which will carry through the seasons would be what is happening to Sakura's arc and Nandini's arc.
So one thing we were pretty particular is like before, I mean, season 1 after we wrote it. So see, the Sakura's arc, no, it starts with a certain way and ends in a certain way. So we had figured out what will be his arc for the next season. So where he starts from is where he ends in first season. So that thing was clear. So I mean, that has to be clear because you know, that character and Nandini's character and the relationship between them. So these three, no, we can't close it all because that needs to grow. That needs to grow. That was intentional, but see, and series-wise, no, a lot of times what we'll find is if you leave something for the next season and you don't end the season, no. Personally, when we watch stuff, we get very, very pissed off. You know, like
That'll be like break the TV kind of moments. It's like, dude, we've sat here for 6 hours and you don't finish the story. Like you're leaving it to season 2 to watch.
so
I
that,
think in the earlier television format, no, of the big networks, HBO, Showtime, and all that, they knew the cadence that it's going to come exactly 1 year later. Now, for us in the OTT platform, the cadence is not that clear. It could be 1 year, it could be 1.5 years. Like Suzhal was coming almost 2.5 years later. Patal Lok came like some 4 years later. So the cadence varies depending on multiple things, but mainly like, dude, finish writing kind of thing, right? So in this scenario, if you leave the main closure of the plot hanging, no, then people lose interest. I mean, like, you wouldn't want to come back and watch season 2 because, like, dude, they already irritated us in the beginning of season 1. So you need to do both things. Close the main plot engine, but keep the characters going, which I think Patal Lok had done really well. I mean, Patal Lok's first season finished the story. Now they have a completely different story, but you can see Jaideep Ahalwat's character growing over the season, no? So we had also kind of structured it that way only. So we were very happy that Patal Lok also was not just continuation of that same crime kind of thing. So going forward, I think most OTT storytelling is going to come to this,
Right.
where you have a season which is seemingly self-contained, but which has enough threads which you can take through to the other seasons.
When you are the writers and you're also involved creatively, you know, like in this, why not go the extra step and direct as well? Like, why do you say the first season had Anucharan and Brahma, and now you have Sarjun and Brahma? So doing the show, so why not, you know?
see, actually, initially, I mean, Prime had suggested, I mean, like we had our Hindi commitment, so we told we'll do that and then come into we. So they told no.
So you
this
were going to
format-
direct?
Oh, yeah. It started off with that.
So like they told no, like, you know, you guys, you anyway finished it, so you'll anyway micromanage it. I mean, but get some other directors. We threw a hissy fit, like, this is like giving our baby for adoption. How can you do that? We put our heart and soul into it, like full drama. Then actually they told, like, no, see,
And
this
they only
format,
just suggested. But you want to think about that. For that, our reaction was a little Anjro Kutta Ainur Nadikara Mariana reaction.
then then you see a lot of stuff internationally done, and also we thought, okay, this is a format, we should explore that. I mean, like a lot of those guys, I mean, they get it right. They get it right. So that is something we need to explore. So let's get out of our heads and.
I think, see, embracing that idea was a
Sorry,
little
just
difficult.
a lot of those guys get it right, as in?
As in, like, I mean, most of the big shows abroad, no, you'll have one creator.
Okay, the separation of
Yeah,
jobs.
and
okay.
you'll have these directors. In fact, they'll even have different crews, but the aesthetic will be consistent. The storytelling, the pitching of the actors, everything will be consistent.
And how do you ensure that? Like, for example, because Sarjun is different, Brahma is different, Anucharan is different. Like, how do you ensure that they are in sync with your?
So I think a lot of time during pre-production. So I mean, first they read the script and they will do their interpretation, and also we have these long sessions. So long sessions
you
of
just
like
talk.
discussing, discussing
Like scene by
you know,
scene, episode
scene
by
scene.
episode.
And when we are like location recce or everything, we'll also go. So it's like we'll form a common universe. So, like nobody is out of that universe. So, I mean, their own personality, their things will also come into the thing, which is a great thing. I mean, that's why you have other people contributing. So, they will also, like, Brahma has one cultural thing which she actually brings in. And Sarjun has one, like, one energy, one scale thing which he brings in. So, we embrace all that, but everything is contained in that universe. So, they don't step out of this universe.
What
So,
you have conceived. Yeah.
yeah, so it becomes a shared universe.
A lot of the conversation which we start with the directors now is also to get their viewpoint into how this universe has to be. And it's all very tangible stuff. How is the universe created by choice of location, by choice of actors? I mean, all the characters who are going to populate, how are you going to shoot it? What's the colors, the
technicians.
visual aesthetics in it? So, which means the DOP's input is going to be paramount in that. And how are you going to pitch the meter of the actors? Like, is it going to be at this level, this level, this level? Is it going to be very muted? Are you looking? So, those are things which, on discussion, there are only like some 6-7 variables which actually need to be sorted to create the look, feel, texture, the lived in quality of any particular thing. So, when you are talking to your art director, your production designer, we'll all be in the same page on how should the place be set up. I mean, if you need kuppai, if you need dirt, means when we have actually done that because the location was too clean, we have brought in a load of rubble and thrown it on the streets to make it look more lived in. So these are very concrete, and we have a checklist on, okay, is this done, is this done, is this done, is this conversation done? So once you go through that, then all of us are pretty much in the same universe.
And I think we got a little lucky with Brahma, Sarjun and Anucharan. I mean, they're all great directors with good skills, and they're very collaborative people, and they get the vision. So they kind of, if they have like a certain, there is no right way. So you can go a little this way or that way. So there is always a conversation. They don't say, oh, I am here, I'm the director, I'm going to do that. So it's always a conversation. So I think that we've been like dumb luck. I mean, like really.
No, I mean,
but when you're actually in the, do you kind of, maybe the first couple of days of shoot, are you with them to make sure that you're...
Yeah, we are there. We are there on shoot, but we try not to interfere. I mean, too much.
You should ask the directors when you speak to them privately. Did they interfere too much?
Because just to make sure that, see, because it's when you're discussing, sometimes a point could be interpreted a different way. Just to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we pretty much. I mean,
it's not just the first couple of days. In fact, for the climax sequence, we were completely there on all the festival bits.
And every time a new character gets introduced,
for us, that is the
there
key point.
because that's when the pitching of the character happens. So that for the
first
girls,
couple of days for say an actor like Kadir or Aishwarya Rajesh, or in first season Shreya Reddy, Parthiban, and in this we have Saravanan, Lal sir, then the 8 girls. So all of them, when they individually come on their first day shoot, second day shoot, we try to be there. Because once we agree on what is the pitching of the character, which each of the directors know, then it will continue. Then you know which part of the arc you are in.
Then
And it's
okay.
also scheduled in such a way that when an actor first comes in on set, no, it is not one of those narratively large scenes where there's a reveal which has to happen or there's a change in the character. It will be a softer scene in terms of performance, which then we can get into it. So those days, usually, we'll spend a little more time with the director and it'll be in front of the monitor. We'll be just leaning into Brahma's
And
ear or
actually
Sajjan's
now,
ear.
I mean, now I think we are very happy with this setup. I mean, we are happy that, okay, somewhere this idea has been cracked and we are happy with it and we want to go forward with
So
it.
when why haven't more directors jumped into this space? What is your theory? Because are there some people saying, I would rather be in the film space, I'd rather, chase stars, do my own thing, or what is the thing?
Yeah, I think it's one thing is also, see, this writing, the space is also new. So that cracking the writing took us some time. I mean, that could be one reason. And I mean,
We've actually got scripts pitches from a lot of.
Sargunam is doing a show.
Sargunam is doing a show for us for Prime Video. So he's one of those people who came in with an idea and he's the creator director on it. So it's like how Andrew was for Vadandi, right? But there have been a bunch of directors, actually established directors, who have sent us stuff. See, one of the problems is for them to interface with the platforms. So there is a little bit of a formatting which needs to be done. You need to provide a whole bunch of details which people are right now not used to. So they have a story idea, and the point is, if you're looking at it as a series, you need to have how each episode is going to play out before you take it forward. Usually these would be conceived as a feature film and then saying, like, since they're not able to mount it as a feature film, let's mount it as a series. But a series has a cadence, right? I mean, if you're telling a story for 40 minutes, it still needs a starting, it needs a shift between act 1 to act 2, it needs a midpoint, it needs an end, and then you need a hook to the next episode. So these are things which long form writing, they have not completely figured out yet.
Okay.
And the other thing is a lot of the things which work for big screen storytelling. So say you have a film which you've written for a hero, like not just an actor, but a hero, a sizable hero. Then you would be doing things which is like a large hero introduction and like things which require spectacle, but they don't move the story forward. With the OTT space, the key thing with long form storytelling is everything has to keep the story moving forward. You show it as a spectacle, you show it as an intimate scene, it doesn't matter. If the story doesn't take you to the next step, keep you what next, then you're going to lose out on. So a lot of writers are not used to this. They would create these sequences which would be like one zing thing which the hero does, but it won't translate to this space.
Like, I mean, theater is a captive audience, no? So you kind of like, okay, you might be distracted over the phone for a little bit, but overall your concentration is there. So here you have like some 100 distractions. I mean, apart from your phone, somebody might call you, or you might be actually playing on the phone while watching something, or like some or with the button you can just change whatever you're watching. So you need to actually grab people beyond that. So that
like
is,
every minute has to
yeah,
count.
yeah.
It's not a compromise in terms of storytelling. So that is another thing which keeps coming across, that if you do a series, you'll have to compromise. We don't get that world at all.
What does compromise mean?
So a lot of people think that if the story cannot be said the way they have written the first draft, anything they do beyond that is a compromise.
Oh.
So there is no idea of that. The next version could be better than this version. Like people come in with
a lot of people are just lazy.
actually, yeah, that's true. I mean, that's what we believe. You can't come up with an alternative, so you like pull off the creative cards. Oh, this is like, this is my vision.
And
You're not born with a vision.
worst
You just
is
came
I don't think
like
many
3
people
months back.
get the value of versions or
Absolutely,
over and over, like redoing things. I think
Yeah,
many people are used to the idea of
I'm
this
done.
is my theory. Like they have an idea, a basically developed sketch, and then they go to shoot and figure out the rest of the stuff. I think that's what.
If they figure out.
Yeah. Maybe that's why the.
So we've had conversations with a couple of directors where they sent us something, and we thought that idea had legs, but it needs certain things to be done. So we very gently only suggested a few things and all. So the reaction was a very condescending. I know for OTT platforms means we can't do this, but if you want it means I will do it. But I know it's a compromise. It's not the vision I had. Dude, okay, we're not working with you. If you don't want to write a second draft of what you've sent
Generally,
to
you know,
us.
like we don't think that vision is like, you know, so divine. I mean, you're not born with it. Like it came 3 months back, you know. So there's always scope for improvement. I mean, you can always work on it, get it better, make it better.
Why we love working with Andrew and now with Sargunam. Both of them have done so many versions of the script. See, first thing was our input, and I'm sure when you do the interview with them and their show comes out, they'll have choicest of abuses to tell you. But
No,
yeah,
we tell them very sweetly. They also at least act sweetly.
so they, without fail, they always take that. See, we would maybe give 10 suggestions. They don't need to take all 10, but they'll take 2, 3 and give their viewpoint on it. Because what we are trying to find out is, okay, this point is not working. How do we fix it? So that's the only thing. And they'll figure out a way to come up with an alternate solution. And it'll be mostly, and it's not like from what is seen outside, it's not a legal issue. It is not because the platform won't talk about certain things or anything like that. You just have to tell it right.
And actually, Andrew at least is a friend from college. So, you know, it's like a conversation. We'll also pitch a script. He'll say, okay, this works and that doesn't work. And it's like, you know, more like a friendly thing. Sargunam, I mean, we've met him only recently. So he's been like pretty open and collaborative, and I think, I mean, with the Brahma, Sarjun, Anuchar, and so we like this collaborative space. We are collaborative, and more people like that, we are like pretty happy to work with.
Yeah.
You know, you did your masters in the US. I think you did fine arts and you did filmmaking.
No, both of us did films.
Both of us did films. I don't know. So, you know, you back then you must have had this idea that this is what I'm learning, and this is the kind of film that I want to do. And then you come here, and then you figure out the local ecosystem, right? It's like, which is structured a certain way, better or worse, whatever it is. Did you find that there's something that you wanted to do, but you couldn't do?
Actually, I mean, that's pretty. We had a thesis script, okay. So that I told, I mean, we won't finish our masters there. We'll come and do a feature as a thesis script and come back and all that.
So in our film school, they usually no film school lets a student do a feature film as their thesis project.
It's not encouraged, right? Generally, it's not encouraged. So
because most people will fail trying to pull off a feature film script, so they just want you to do a 20-minute short film or something like that.
So we took it to NFDC. Mr. Prabhanjan was there, and they really liked the idea, and like we were super excited. So they told it's good to go. So we went on like one celebratory
vaguely, can you
mode.
tell what it's about?
It's like a 40 lakh project. 40 lakh is the budget we gave. It's like a multiple storyline thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it had 4 stories which lead up to a certain day, and these are all very slice of life stories.
Small stories, so you can actually pull off in 40 lakhs. Hopefully.
So one was a single father. Another was a woman from a traditional household who has to go in search of her house owner's dog because she left the gate open. And these are all small problems, but it becomes
for
an
them
existential
it is like a
crisis
huge
that,
deal, and there is like one inner conflict which goes on, and that and the external whatever. So that was the intimate film we wanted to make, and you know, like NFDC is happy, and we were all like full celebratory. We went and partied and all that.
Like for us, it was again a Madras script. Like that idea was to set
Which
it at
year was this roughly?
It was 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, right after we came from our masters. Then suddenly government plan changed, so they took off that production thing, and they made it co-production. We don't have 20 lakhs to put in.
He said like if you get 50%, we'll put 50% kind of thing. We didn't have the money at that point.
So that didn't happen. But in retrospect, we are very happy. I mean, like before going, we were thinking we'll make Indian English films. I mean, those days like there were a few and all that stuff. But after coming back, our whole, I think when you go away, you come back, you look at things with a fresh perspective. So everything was so wow, like as in the heat, the auto, the dirt, the biryani. I mean, everything was like, wow, this is damn cool. And we saw that one subculture and we thought, I mean, how come we were here all around and we didn't know about that? So we made Auto, we made Orompo.
Yeah.
Orompo. So I think somewhere, no, like that day we were upset. I mean, oh, this was almost there and got lost. But now in retrospect, we are happy, because that space, the number of audience you reach, no,
Would be
is
very-
very small. So
That is
till
the space that you would have wanted to make films. in.
Actually,
Yeah.
in film school, we were even more off. Like the same points which we now give as feedback to the writers and to the directors who come to us. No, these were things I fought tooth and nail with my screenwriting prof. Why should this point be there? Why do you need a turning point where the antagonist is coming in? My antagonist doesn't exist. You know about the antagonist only in the last. Like arguments which I've had because we were looking at a very avant-garde way of making films.
actually, I was so snobbish that I used to watch stuff only with subtitles. I mean, otherwise, oh, English is okay, whatever.
Yeah, not even watch English
I mean,
films.
yeah, I think we were just.
Like Tarkovsky's films with the shot which goes on for like 12 minutes was like, okay, we need to watch that shot again kind
I mean,
of
I
thing.
don't
It's
think
like-
we can ever watch Andrei Rublev and all today. I mean, now we've become impatient. Now we can't.
So
all that.
we
No, but I
come-
think I think at a certain age that's very useful.
Yeah,
Because it,
yeah.
it tells you
It's
there's
good to
another.
grow up. It's good to grow up that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, and
it's-
I think
for us-
when I interviewed Kamal Hassan once, he said, you can see those films and you can take little things from it, but you can't really make those kinds of films here. But you can definitely, like he was talking about that 360 shot from Guna, and he said, like those some things you can be inspired by,
Right,
certain,
right,
but you
right.
cannot really make those films here. So
Yeah, and we are actually fans of how film craft is developed over the years. I mean, we know that. I mean, we have learned that where the jump cut comes in, which we use so regularly in songs and even in action sequences and stuff like that. There was actually a starting point for that. And again, like it's something as simple as like the continuous parallel dolly shot, which led to the creation of the Steadicam. How was it first done? So when you sit through a history of cinema class, all this comes to you, and so there is a appreciation of what and all cinema has gone through to reach over here.
Like first, how editing was started and like how couple of shots became a story. All that is like
Yeah, I mean,
fantastic to
how
learn.
you could
and-
show two things happening in two different places, which we take for granted today,
Right,
but at
right,
one point
right.
it was a revolution. Right? It's like,
So
Absolutely.
we
Yeah,
saw
absolutely.
the clip. So the most famous example of editing is that you have a shot of a lion looking and you have a shot of a deer grazing. So we've actually seen this film clip projected in our film history class. Now you just read about it in books, right? Like, so do you put the shot of the lion first or put the shot of the deer
Changes.
first? And the meaning changes, right? So if you show the deer first and then show the lion is a predator. Now if you show the lion first and then show the lion is hungry, it needs to eat. So these are two different perceptions, and this is what is taught in every editing class. So these things, how cinema has developed gives you that appreciation. But finally, where do stories come from? So that's why we actually came back also, because we realized that if you're going to make films in the US, then we are going to be that
We don't
typical
know. We
Indian
don't know the-
English
yeah.
ABCD expat filmmakers kind of thing. And that is not a world we grew up in also. We've been there, like 2 years, 3 years. All we know is like Indian kids studying engineering over there and the place we lived in. So that was the reason we came back, and when we wanted to do that film for NFDC also, our treatment of that was very cutting edge for a story like that. So
Like, yeah, it wouldn't be like a typical art film or like, for want of better word. I mean, so the pacing, everything, like that simple, very slice of life, very heart-touching story, but it'll be like technically it needs to be
So
pretty
that was
cutting
the
edge.
edge we thought, and this is why our profs also said okay to doing a thesis over there. So a slice of life, middle class story set in Madras, in a typical middle class locality over here, but treat it with the finesse of say a Run Lola Run or
No, bring a lot
Gayatri
of
film.
pace and, make it like edge of the seat thriller.
Yeah. Now, when you make you've made Vikram Vedha, it's done well here. It's gotten your name here. You're taking it there. I really like the way you scaled up the movie and you the energy that Hrithik brought to that part, because every part can be played in
Yeah,
many
absolutely.
ways,
Right,
right? So
right.
he brought a very different energy to the, like a starry energy to that whole role. But what was the takeaway from you from that? Do you think the film didn't work because too many people, because there's so many theories floating around. Some people said, like, okay, many people have already seen it in subtitles, therefore it didn't work. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I
What did you
think
take away from that whole
for
experience?
us, one thing which we have believed in is, every filmmaker, for a matter of fact, makes a film with all the right intention. Every producer, director,
Actor, everybody.
makes it with the right intention. But it depends on what the audience is looking at that point of time. Now, very occasionally do these two sets intersect, where what the audience is
That's
looking
very
at.
scary, no?
Yeah. And that is, I mean, that's absolute truth. I mean, that's what we've been thinking. So, a lot of times it goes as parallel lines. At one point only it intersects, and
No,
that
so I'm saying
happens, it's
in
great.
theory, you could be developing this wonderful theory, this film for 3 years, but at that third year
Absolutely.
or fourth year when it comes out, the film comes out, the audience could be in a different place.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely,
all the
absolutely.
development has kind of,
So,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
those are the things, like with quarter cutting, one of the things we realized was, like, damn, maybe it should have come 8 years later or 7 years later, when black comedies actually found an audience over
or
here.
at least not on a festival
Or
weekend
not
where
on a,
like families
Diwali
come
day,
and they
right?
want to watch like a certain kind of thing, and like
And you showed a film about two people going out to find a bottle of alcohol. It's like, okay, this is not a Diwali film. But at that point of time, like, wow, we've got a Diwali release and all that. So, all that is always post event. You
retrospective.
never know. But one thing which we are trying to do when we are writing our next feature script, or even the next series script and all that, is now trying to take that into account. That, see, we are not going to write a script now, going to shoot 2 months down the line, and the film will be out by the end of the year. When we finish writing and then we finish shooting, it's still going to be 2 years, 3 years later. So, are we anticipating where the audience will be at that point of time?
how
or
do you even do that?
so
you can
see,
try.
You
I
can
mean,
try.
you can
I mean, it's
try.
like,
Yeah, it's like
you study trends which are happening in terms of nothing to do with cinema, not the stories which are being told now, but what is being spoken about on social media, what kind of political talk is happening. So those things actually matter, like how the world's view is swinging either to the right or to the
And
left,
thing is,
or
it's
is it coming
not
centrist?
like, it's not as calculated. As in, you don't look at all that when you try to write the script. It's not that.
Yeah, it is
it's
not like by
that
numbers.
calculative and manipulated and all that. I mean, finally, we have to be happy with the script. That happens very rarely. So that conviction happens, then we'll go all out and try to mount that. See, but I think one thing we'll try to do is, okay, something which is at least new, something which has not happened, not here. See, the exposure is larger, it happens internationally. So, something which is unique, I mean, it shouldn't happen abroad also. So, that we'll try to do. Then after that, I mean, it's really, yeah, those lines meet, it's great. Otherwise, if it's parallel, what do you do? I mean, you can say, oh, I did 3 years, 4 years, I did hard work, and like producer put a lot of money, but there's nothing much
In fact,
you
there
can
have
do.
been a couple of ideas which we developed and then put a pause to it, and last couple of years, damn, okay, that movie is already out. Now we can't do that anymore.
So in theory, when you say that you have to be keep in touch with what the audience. So like I just want to know, do you look at things like, okay, people's attention span has shrunk, so like the movies that we like, we're all the same generation, so like the movies that we grew up on, let's say a Godfather even could prove to be a very tedious watch today, because like we worship that movie, but maybe today like people just don't have the patience because
Right.
it's a deliberately paced film. But do those things factor in?
Absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
I have to keep my
Absolutely.
scene short, they have to something like that.
See, I mean, actually, forget even the younger people. Our own personal that patience for those things have, like it has shrunk. So that we definitely keep in mind. I mean, like no point in holding on to stuff, which like everything has a time period, no? So you need to evolve with it. You can't say
But is
that
the
is
evolution-
pure and like.
No, that is not. No, I'm not coming from
right,
that
right,
viewpoint,
right, right,
I'm
right.
not saying that is
No, no,
sacred.
no, no.
This is not.
Absolutely,
Because,
absolutely.
everything break rules. But how do you like change? Like, see, you're making series, you're making films, or you are making series at a point. How easy is it to change the way you perceive an art form? That's what I'm trying to think.
Actually, yeah, no, I get your point. I mean, I don't know. So, like series also, no. So one thing we've done is see, like from the networks also, see because they have data and all that. So you need to kind of break what is the story about very early on, like not keep it till the end of the episode or
keep
middle of
finding
the
the story.
episode. Yeah, you need to kind of like for the viewer, you need to say, okay, where is the story going? That clarity has to happen much earlier than what we would have usually done. So that actually we've changed it, like with our feature also for this one also, no. So it is not about pacing as in just the edit or like somebody's like a lot of shots and all that, but movement in the plot where the story reversals happen, the plot keeps twisting. That will keep the audience hooked.
We were recently talking to somebody about what is this pacing thing. There was a script which came to us, which at the outset felt pacey, but it is not, because every scene is an escalation of the same point. Now, escalation can help you only to a certain level. You need the plot to turn. So, unexpected. Escalation is always an expected thing. Like it becomes bigger and bigger. In an action sequence, you fight with one person, then with 4 people, then with 10 people, then with 100 people. That 100 people fight, when it happens, no, you have exhausted the audience. You need to keep turning the story around. So that is what we are looking at in terms of the pacing, which will keep the younger audience especially sitting. So it is not about fast cuts, it's not about peppy music, shorter scene duration and all that, but how much are you going to sustain a plot movement? Now, what we would have done for, say, 30 minutes in an earlier form of storytelling, when there is actually a bigger change. Now it will boil down to a much shorter duration when you need to change like it's like mileposts. So at every milepost, you'll need to turn the story around, right? Now the mileposts have come closer, which means there's a lot more writing work which needs to
Which means
happen.
you need to think of a lot more turns and
Yeah,
reversals.
yeah. So that we are being extremely conscious, both in the series space and the features space, no. So like keep them guessing, like so not just stylistically.
Something's
but
always happening.
no, actually, like, or you're looking at, like, there is a proper reversal. Something which, like, oh fuck, I didn't see that coming.
So this cadence, no, I think in cinema you have a little more time, because the spectacle will keep you sitting over there when
And
you watch
also,
it in
like
the
she
theater.
said, it's a captive audience. So yeah. So thank you so much. All the best for Suzhal too, and always a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you,
Lovely
thank
talking
you.
to you.
Yeah,
too.
thanks.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
டார்லிங் ஏசி திருவிழா இந்தியாவிலேயே மிக குறைந்த மாத தவணையில் ஏசி. Velamal feels proud to honor the physical education teachers with 5 cars and 15 lakhs.